My fiancé tired on our wedding day. My best friend stole all of my savings until my former boss showed up and told me he just bought my fiancé Estan's father's company and wanted me as the new CEO. I stood frozen in the bridal suite of St. Mary's Cathedral 30 minutes past when the ceremony should have started. The coordinator knocked for the third time. Miss Carter, the guests are getting restless. Should we make an announcement? My phone buzzed with a text from my maid of honor and best friend since college, Taylor. Asterisk, I am so sorry, Tazesh Jason, and I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. We love each other. Asterisk attached was a shreth of airline tickets to Bali. First class, purchased with my emergency savings account that Taylor had access to all $47,000 of it. Miss Carter, the coordinator, knocked again, more insistent. The room spun around me. 200 guests waited. My parents had spent a fortune they didn't have. Jason's wealthy family occupied the front row, probably already sneering at the delay. They never thought I was good enough for their precious son. I'll be right out. I managed my voice surprisingly steady. I flung open the door and marched down the corridor in my $8,000 dress, not toward the altar but to the main entrance. I would tell everyone myself, no hiding. As I pushed through the heavy wooden doors, whispers rippled through the crowd. My father half rose from his seat, confusion etched on his face. Jason isn't coming, I announced, my voice echoing in the vaulted ceiling. He left with my maid of honor and my savings. Gasps, murmurs. Mrs. Trent, Jason's mother, covered her mouth in horror, not because her son had humiliated me, I realized, but because he'd created a scene. As I turned to leave, dignity in tatters but head held high, I locked eyes with Chase Montgomery in the back row, my former boss at Devon Media, before I left to work at Jason's family's company, Trent Industries. Chase, the brilliant, demanding CEO who'd reluctantly written me a recommendation when I resigned. I hadn't invited him. We weren't friends. His presence made no sense. 3 hours later, I sat in my apartment in sweatpants and a tank top, makeup streaked down my face, surrounded by wedding gifts I'd need to return. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with texts and calls from concerned guests and gleeful gossips alike. A knock at the door, my mother coming to remind me how she'd warned me about rushing into marriage. After only a year of dating instead, Chase Montgomery stood in my doorway, immaculate in his tailored suit. May I come in? He asked, not waiting for an answer as he stepped inside. Why were you at my wedding? I asked, too emotionally drained to care about my appearance. I knew what was going to happen, he said, surveying my apartment with curious eyes. I've been tracking Jason and Taylor for weeks. I knew about their affair, the tickets, all of it. And you didn't warn me? I was too shocked to be angry. I am not here to apologize, Chase said, lowering himself onto my couch. I am here with an opportunity. He pulled out his phone, showing me a news article dated yesterday. Montgomery acquisitions, purchases, struggling Trent Industries and Peck Move A. I bought your fiancé Este's family company, he said with a small smile, and I want you to run it. What? I stared at him in disbelief. Why would you? Because you are brilliant at what you do and because Jason and his father are going to lose their minds when they discover who's in charge. Chase leaned forward. 5 times your former salary, full control of operations, and a front row seat to watch the Trent family legacy crumble in your hands. My heart raced as I absorbed his words. This was crazy. This was exactly what I needed. When do I start? I heard myself ask. Chase's smile widened. Monday morning, be ready for war. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. 3 days after being left at the altar, I had become Lakeside's hottest gossip. My mother called again, her 6th attempt that morning. May I please pick up? We need to talk about the gifts we have to return. And I silenced the call and stared at my closet. What does one wear to their first day as CEO of their XP and STU's family company? Something powerful, something that says I am not broken. I chose a crisp black pantsuit and my most expensive heels parned to splurge from when Jason and I got engaged. The irony wasn't lost on me. Chase texted as I was applying my lipstick. Euchre waiting downstairs. Try not to burn the building down on your first day. Asterisk, a sleek black hemp waited at the curb. The driver nodded respectfully. Miss Carter Trent Industries occupied the top 3 floors of a downtown office building. I'd visited Jason there many times, meeting his father for uncomfortable dinners, where Mr. Trent made thinly veiled comments about my humble background. Now I was their boss. The receptionist's eyes widened when I stepped off the elevator. Word traveled fast in Lakeside. Miss Carter, I care. I believe the correct greeting is, good morning, Miss CEO, came Chase's voice from behind her. He stood in the doorway to what had been Harold Trent's office, now emptied of personal effects. Your domain awaits. Whispers followed us as Chase led me through the main floor. Employees quickly averted their eyes when I looked their way. The executive board will meet you at 10, Chase explained, settling into a chair across from what was now my desk. Harold Trent's inner circle, all men, all furious about the acquisition, even more furious about you. Why are you doing this? I asked. You could have any executive running this company. Chase's eyes darkened. Because revenge tastes better when served by the person they underestimated most. He checked his watch. The company's financials are a mess. Harold's been cooking the books for years. That's why I got it so cheap. And you expect me to clean it up? I expect you to do what you do best, see patterns others miss and fix what's broken. Chase stood. One more thing. Harold and Jason believe they're staying on as consultants. That's your call. Fire them or keep them. Make them squirm or send them packing. As he reached the door, my phone pinged with a notification, a social media alert. Taylor had posted a photo of her and Jason on a Bali beach, my engagement ring prominently displayed on her finger. Chase glanced back. By the way, the board meeting, Harold and Jason will be there? Burke, my stomach twisted, but I forced myself to nod coolly. Perfect. Act. After Chase left, I explored my new office part, twice the size of my old cubicle at Devon Media. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the courthouse where I was supposed to have my reception. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. You don't belong in that office. This isn't over. Tight Harold, I set the phone down and straightened my shoulders. The scared, humiliated bride was gone. Or it was. The Trent Industries boardroom fell silent as I walked in. 6 men in expensive suits stared at me with expressions ranging from disdain to outright hostility. Harold Trent sat at the far end where the CEO typically presided. Jason slouched beside him, his face flushing when he saw me. Gentlemen, I said, moving directly to Harold's seat. I believe you are in my chair, Mr. Trent. Harold didn't move. This is absurd. You are not qualified to run a lemonade stand, let alone my company. Montgomery Acquisitions Company, I corrected. And actually, I have an MBA from Wharton and 5 years of experience in marketing strategy at Devon Media. I set my portfolio on the table. Now, shall we begin? Or would you prefer to clear out your desk instead of participating? After a tense moment, Harold slid to an adjacent seat. The victory, however small, sent a surge of confidence through me. Let's talk about the company's finances. I began distributing folders. According to these reports, Trent Industries is on the verge of bankruptcy. That's confidential information. Harold snapped. Not from the CEO, I replied. replied. You've lost 3 major clients in the past quarter. Your production costs have increased by 22%, while revenue has dropped by 17%. Jason leaned forward. Be reasonable. You are only here because Chase Montgomery has some vendetta against my family. You're being used. Like, I was used when you disappeared on our wedding day, I asked pleasantly. The room grew uncomfortable. Or when you and Taylor emptied my savings account? That was a misunderstanding, Jason muttered. A $47,000 misunderstanding, scam Grail. I turned back to the group. Gentlemen, Trent Intersays can be saved, but not with its current leadership approach. I've outlined a restructuring plan. We're not taking orders from Jason's cast-off, snapped Michael Reed, Harold's longest-serving preem. I smiled thinly. Mr. Reed, your department has been operating at a loss for 18 months. The restructuring plan includes eliminating redundant positions. Would you like yours to be the first? The room fell silent. As I was saying, this restructuring plan addresses our immediate cash flow issues and rebuilds client confidence. I slid the detailed proposal across the table. Review it. We'll reconvene tomorrow for your input. I stood to leave, then paused. Oh, and Jason Taylor posted another photo from Bali. The infinity pool looks lovely. I understand it's at the resort where you were supposed to take me for our honeymoon. Bold choice. Jason's face reddened as the other executives shifted uncomfortably. I left with my head high, but my hands trembled once I was alone in my office. I collapsed into my chair, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. A knock came at my door. My new assistant Emma peeked in. Miss Carter. Here is a Mr. Montgomery on line 1. I composed myself before answering, Chase checking to see if tear is blood on the boardroom floor. How did it go? He asked, ignoring my attempt at humor. They hate me, but they're scared, which works just as well. I paused. Why didn't you tell me the company was nearly bankrupt? Chase was silent for a moment. Would it have changed your answer? No, I admitted, but I'd like to know what other landmines are waiting. Let's discuss over dinner. Antonio's 8 p.m. I should have said no. Chase Montgomery was using me for his mysterious vendetta against the Trents, but curiosity won out fine. But I expect answers, of course, he said smoothly. By the way, check your email. I sent something that might interest you. After hanging up, I opened my inbox to find a forwarded message from Taylor to Jason dated 3 weeks before our wedding. Weiser Pert, the bitch still has no idea. Can't wait to see her face when she realizes she was never good enough for you. Just a stepping stone to get daddy's approval for the premise position. Once we're in Bali, we'll be untouchable. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, a cold rage crystallizing into something harder, more focused than the pain I'd been nursing. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. Antonio's was the kind of restaurant where the menu had no prices, dark wood, soft lighting, waiters who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. I'd only been here once before when Jason was trying to impress his father with his sophisticated fiancée Refetchard. Chase was already seated in a corner booth when I arrived, studying something on his tablet. He stood as I approached, his expression suddenly appreciative as he took in my appearance. I'd gone home to change into a sleek black dress per tant. Not for him, I told myself, but because I needed to shed the corporate armor I'd worn all day. Impressive first day, he said, holding my chair. The board is in chaos. Harold called an emergency meeting after you left. How do you know that? I asked, accepting the wine he'd already ordered. I have my sources. Chase smiled enigmatically. Your restructuring plan is excellent, by the way, though I am curious why you didn't fire Jason outright. Keep your friends close, enemies closer, I said. Besides, I want him to watch as I save the company his father ran into the ground. Chase studied me with new interest. Revenge suits you, Tazish. That email you sent me, I said, changing the subject. How did you get it? Like? I said, sources. He closed his tablet. Taylor and Jason have been planning this for months. He never intended to marry you. Why, the question had been haunting me. What did I ever do to deserve that kind of cruelty? Chase's expression hardened. It wasn't about you. It was about the premise position at Trent Indicious. Harold promised it to Jason on one condition, Pert, had he settled down with someone suitable. You were accomplished enough to impress the board, but not connected enough to threaten the family dynamic. The revelation hit like a physical blow. I was just a box to check. Yes, until Jason reconnected with Taylor at your engagement party. She has the connections his family wanted all along. Our conversation paused as dinner arrived. I picked at my food, appetite gone. Here is more to this story, I said finally. Why do you hate the Trents so much? This isn't just business. Chase set down his fork. That's a conversation for another time. Number, I deserve to know what I am part of. Before he could answer, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Taylor's distinctive laugh cut through the restaurant's hushed atmosphere. You have got to be kidding me, I muttered, turning to see Jason Taylor and Harold being seated across the restaurant. They can't be back from Bali already. Actually, they never left, Chase said quietly. The tickets were real, but they canceled after securing your money. They've been hiding out at the Trent Lake House. My face burned with humiliation. The exotic vacation photos had been from last year's trip. More lies. Did you know they'd be here? I demanded. No, Chase said, looking genuinely surprised. This is unfortunate timing. Taylor spotted me first. Her eyes widened, then narrowed as she nudged Jason. He turned face paling when he saw me with Chase. I need to leave, I said, standing abruptly. Mia, don't give them that satisfaction. Chase reached for my hand too late. Taylor was already sauntering toward our table, Jason reluctantly trailing behind her. Well, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Moving on already, Tazic, and with the boss, how predictable. I stood my ground. Taylor, surprised to see you back from Bali so soon. Problems in paradise? We're just getting started, she replied, twirling my former engagement ring on her finger. Jason's father invited us to dinner to celebrate Jason's promotion. He's taking over as president of Trent Intersays' new subsidiary. I laughed, unable to help myself. Is that what Harold told you? There is no subsidiary, and as of tomorrow, there might not be a job for Jason at all. Jason's face reddened. You can't fire me? My contract, your contract, like the company belongs to Montgomery Acquisitions now, Chase interrupted smoothly. And Tejas has full authority as CEO. Harold appeared behind them, his expression thunderous. This vendetta of yours has gone far enough, Montgomery, intragenous. This jilted bride as your puppet won't change anything, puppet. I stepped forward. Mr. Trent, I reviewed the company financials today. Care to explain the $2.4 million discrepancy in the operations budget? Or should I take that question to the sexy? Harold's face went ashen. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Now if you'll excuse us, we're trying to enjoy dinner. They retreated, but not before Taylor hissed. This isn't over. Once they were gone, Chase regarded me with newfound respect. Where did you find the budget discrepancy? I didn't, I admitted, but guilty people always tell on themselves, and Harold just did. Chase laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his usually guarded face. You are something else, Tazic Carter. As he paid the bill, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You made an enemy tonight. I know Chase's secret, and soon you will too. *2 weeks into my role as CEO, Trent enters size was showing signs of life. I'd secured a major contract that Harold had been chasing unsuccessfully for months, boosted employee morale with long overdue policy changes, and identified the actual financial discrepancies which were worse than my bluff had suggested. What I hadn't done was fire Jason, not because I couldn't bear to, but because watching him squirm under my authority was more satisfying. Each morning he trudged to his demoted position, stripped of his former title and office, relegated to a cubicle where everyone could see his humiliation. It was during a routine review of old contracts that I found something odd. Parrot a series of payments to a company called Phoenix Complating dating back 15 years. No services specified, just monthly transfers that suddenly stopped 7 years ago. Emma, I called to my assistant. Can you find any information on Phoenix Comploting? They were a vendor until about 7 years ago. An hour later, Emma returned looking puzzled. Here is no record of what they did, but I found the incorporation papers. Phoenix Complating was owned by a Catherine Montgomery. My blood rang cold. Montgomery. Before I could process this information, my office door burst open. Taylor stormed in. Miss Aria streaked down her face. You ruined everything, she shrieked. Emma quickly backed out, closing the door behind her. What are you talking about? I asked calmly, though my heart raced. Jason was just fired. Harold too. She slammed her hands on my desk. The board voted them out this morning. This was news to me. I didn't call for a board vote, liar. Chase did this, which means you did this. She collapsed into a chair, suddenly deflating. It's all falling apart. The wedding is off. Jason's family is cutting him off without the company. We have nothing. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of satisfaction, seeing Taylor brought low, but confusion quickly overrode it. Why would the board suddenly vote out the Trents without my knowledge? Why are you really here, Taylor? I asked. She wiped her eyes, her vulnerability suddenly replaced with calculation. To warn you, you think you know Chase Montgomery. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into if you are here to cause more trouble. His mother, Taylor interrupted. Catherine Montgomery. Ask him about her. A chill ran through me. How do you know that name? A bitter smile twisted Taylor's lips. Because unlike you, I did my research before getting into bed with powerful men. She stood to leave. You are just a pawn, task. You always have been. After she left, I canceled my meetings and drove to the public library. Kengsheng searches had revealed nothing about Catherine Montgomery or her connection to the Trents, but newspaper archives might. 3 hours later, I had my answer. A small article from 15 years ago. Local businesswoman Tan is an apparent suicide. Catherine Montgomery, age 42, had jumped from the Lakeside Bridge after her investment firm collapsed. She left behind a teenage son, Chase. Further digging revealed Catherine had been partners with Harold Trent in a venture that failed spectacularly. Harold had pulled out just before the collapse somehow, emerging unscathed while Catherine lost everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Chase. Been dinner tonight. I have news about the Trents. Asterisk. I stared at the message. Pieces falling into place. This wasn't about business. This was personal. Chase hadn't bought Trent Interseas because it was a good investment. He'd bought it to destroy Harold Trent Parrott, the man he blamed for his mother's death, and I was the perfect instrument for his revenge. That night I waited for Chase at an upscale restaurant, the damning newspaper articles in my purse. When he arrived looking pleased with himself, I cut straight to the point. Tell me about Phoenix Comploting, I said. Tell me about your mother. Chase went completely still, his expression shuddering. Where did you hear that name? It doesn't matter. You've been using me, Chase, this whole time, not using you, he corrected, his voice low. Rami you an opportunity to be your unwitting accomplice in a revenge plot? Harold and Jason Trent are awful people, but you are no better. I pushed back from the table. Taylor came to see me today, a flash of something. Parent alarm. Parent crossed his face. What did she tell you? Enough to make me start digging. I pulled out the articles. Your mother died because of Harold Trent? That's why you bought his company. That's why you put me in charge. Priyan, the woman he humiliated, just like he humiliated your mother? Chase's composed facade cracked. My mother trusted Harold. They were more than business partners. They were lovers. He promised to leave his wife for her, all while systematically stealing her clients and siphoning money from their joint ventures. When she discovered his embezzlement, he framed her for it. She lost everything, bare her company, her reputation, her freedom. His voice hardened. And yes, ultimately her life. So this is about justice for your mother, I said quietly. Justice. Number. This is about making Harold Trent suffer exactly as she suffered. Chase leaned forward. And Taylor isn't just Jason's lover, Tastis. She's my sister. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. What half-sister technically? Mother, different fathers. Chase's smile was cold. Taylor was too young when our mother died to understand what happened. I took care of her, put her through college. When I discovered Jason Trent was engaged, it was too perfect. I engineered their meeting at your engagement party. Knowing Jason's weakness for social climbing, my mind reeled. You planned my humiliation. The wedding. The plan was for Taylor to expose Jason before the wedding, Chase admitted. The public spectacle wasn't part of it. Neither was taking your money part. That was their improvisation. I felt sick, so everything paired offering me the CEO position, the dinners, all of it. Pernton was just manipulation at first, Chase said quietly. But then I got to know you, your resilience, your brilliance. That wasn't part of the plan either. I stood gathering my things. I won't be part of this anymore. As I turned to leave, Chase caught my wrist. Harold Trent stole your life too, Tassis. His son used you as a stepping stone. Don't you want justice? I pulled away, not like this. But as I walked out, doubt crept in. Was I really ready to walk away from everything I'd built at Trent and Dacius? And was Chase Montgomery's revenge so different from my own? The next morning I arrived at Trent and Dacius earlier than usual, mind still racing from Chase's revelations. The security guard nodded as I passed, unaware that I'd spent a sleepless night questioning everything. Emma appeared with coffee as I settled at my desk. The board called an emergency meeting for noon. They wouldn't tell me why. Thank you, I said, taking the cup. Could you pull the complete history of Phoenix Comploting's relationship with Trent Enderty's eyes, all contracts, communications, everything? While Emma was gone, I called the one person who might have answers about Chase's story, pair to Mrs. Trent, Harold's wife. She agreed to meet, sounding unsurprised by my request. An hour later, I sat across from Eleanor Trent in her garden despite the scandal engulfing her family. She remained elegant and composed. I always knew this day would come, she said, pouring tea. When Chase Montgomery returned to Lakeside last year, I warned Harold. So you know about Catherine Montgomery? Eleanor set down her cup. Of course. Harold's affair wasn't exactly subtle, though he thought himself clever. Her eyes held decades of resigned bitterness. Catherine was brilliant, far more talented than Harold. He seduced her to gain access to her clients, then systematically undermined her. Did he frame her for embezzlement? Harold has always excelled at ensuring others take the fall for his misdeeds, Eleanor said carefully. What Chase probably doesn't know is that I tried to warn Catherine. She wouldn't listen. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because, unlike my husband and son, I believe in paying for one's sins. Eleanor handed me a a USB drive. This contains proof of what Harold did Pertol to Catherine to the company, to countless others. I've kept it as insurance. Use it as you see fit. Back at the office, I reviewed the files parent damning evidence of Harold's decades of fraud, including his deliberate sabotage of Catherine Montgomery. With this, I could destroy him completely. As noon approached, I formulated a plan. Not Chase's plan, not Taylor's revenge. My own. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. Chase sat at the far end. He'd never attended board meetings before. His face was unreadable. Miss Carter, began William Porter, the chairman. Concerning developments have come to our attention. It appears you've been using company resources to conduct a personal vendetta against the Trent family. So that was their angle. Chase must have sensed I was pulling away and decided to eliminate me. Interesting accusation. I said calmly, Shatter, given what I've discovered about the company's history. I connected my laptop to the projector. Gentlemen, let me show you exactly what Harold Trent did to Catherine Montgomery 15 years ago, and how those same patterns of fraud continued until the present day. For 30 minutes I presented evidence from Eleanor's files alongside my own findings. The board members grew increasingly uncomfortable. This is ancient history, Chase interrupted finally. The point I cut in is that this company has been built on fraud, manipulation, and destruction, and that stops today. And turned to face Chase directly. You bought this company for revenge. I respect your reasons, but that cycle ends now. I distributed folders to each board member. This is my proposal for complete restructuring, not to destroy Trent Indicious, but to rebuild it ethically, transparently, and profitably. The Trent name will be removed. The company will be rebranded as Phoenix Indices. Additionally, I continued, the company will establish a foundation in Catherine Montgomery's name supporting women entrepreneurs and mental health initiatives. The board members exchanged glances, unsure how to respond to this unexpected turn. Miss Carter Porter began hesitantly. While these revelations about Harold Trent are disturbing, Mr. Montgomery is the owner. This decision is ultimately his. The tension in the room was palpable as he stood. You are using my mother's name, he said quietly, to honor her legacy properly. I replied, not through destruction, but creation. For a long moment Chase said nothing. Then the board is excused. I need to speak with Miss Carter alone. After they filed out, Chase paced the length of the boardroom. You are derailing everything I've worked for 7 years of planning. Your plan was about tearing down, I said. Mine is about building something better, something your mother would be proud of. You don't know what would make her proud, he snapped. No, but I know what wouldn't pay her, watching her son destroy himself with revenge. I stepped closer. Chase, I've spent the last 24 hours furious with you for using me, but the truth is we used each other. We both wanted revenge, and now you don't. I do, I admitted, but not like this. Not by becoming like them. I pushed the proposal toward him. This way, the Trents still lose everything, but instead of just destruction, your mother gets justice. A legacy, something meaningful rises from the ashes. Chase stared at the Phoenix Indices logo I'd mocked up. You did all this overnight. I work well under pressure. A hint of a smile touched his lips. That you do? He sank into a chair, suddenly looking exhausted. Taylor's gone, you know. Left town this morning. She called me a traitor for letting the board fire Jason. She'll understand someday, maybe. He looked up at me. You should hate me, Tassich. I put you in an impossible position. Yes, you did. I gathered my things. I'll have my resignation on your desk this afternoon, don't? He stood quickly. Tassich, your plan for Phoenix Indices? It's good, better than good. It's what she deserved. Then why do I feel like you were still manipulating me? I am not asking you to stay for me, Chase said. I'm asking for the employees who trust you, for the vision you just presented led Phoenix Indices Tyrus, not as my revenge proxy, but as the CEO you've proven yourself to be. I wanted to walk away, to be done with the Trents, with Chase, with all of it. But the idea of Phoenix Indices Parte, something meaningful built from the wreckage of betrayal, Pern called to me. I will consider it, I said finally. On one condition, bare transparency between us from now on. No more secrets, no more manipulation. Agreed, Chase said immediately as I turned to leave. My phone chimed with a text from Taylor. Asterisk in my office. I opened my email to find a video attachment from Taylor. With shaking hands I pressed play. Chase's voice filled my office. She's perfect for our purposes, reasonably intelligent, completely in love with Jason, and utterly unsuspecting. Once she's publicly humiliated, she'll be desperate enough to do anything I suggest. My own face appeared next, captured through what appeared to be a hidden camera in Chase's office on that first day, when he offered me the CEO position. The video ended with 3 words on the screen, EUSU. The silence in my office felt absolute after Taylor's video ended. The timestamp showed it was from 6 months ago, long before my wedding day. Chase had been planning this even before Jason proposed. My finger hovered over the X button, one click, and the entire board would see Chase's true intentions. His elaborate revenge scheme would collapse, but so would everything I'd built at Trent Indices Part, soon to be Phoenix Indices. A knock at my door. Chase entered without waiting for a response, his expression uncharacteristically uncertain. Taylor sent you the video, he said, not a question. You knew about it, he nodded. She warned me this morning that she'd found it in my private files. When were you planning to tell me, or does complete transparency only apply after I discover your lies? I turned my laptop so he could see the paused video of himself. I was wrong about you, Chase said quietly. That video was from when I first suggested to Taylor that she introduce you to Jason. I didn't know you then. You arranged my entire relationship with Jason. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Was anything in my life not manipulated by you? I can't change what I did, Chase admitted. When Catherine died, something broke in me. All I could think about was making Harold Trent feel the same pain, the same humiliation. So you used me, like Jason used me, like everyone has used me. I stood gathering my things. I am done. Mia, wait. Chase moved to block my exit. Yes, I used you. But somewhere along the way, something changed. You take control of this company. Seeing your brilliance, your resilience, Party, I started respecting you, then admiring you. Pretty words from a man who orchestrated my heartbreak. I never meant for Jason to actually propose to you, Chase said. That wasn't part of the plan. Taylor was supposed to reveal the truth long before it went that far. I laughed bitterly. Oh, so you only meant to ruin a casual relationship, not my wedding. How considerate. I know I can't undo the damage, she said. But Phoenix Indices Party, that vision you created, parent, it's real. It matters. Don't throw it away because of my mistakes. For a moment I wavered. The company had become mine and all but ownership. The employees trusted me. The Phoenix rebrand was my creation, my vision.